That's what performing is, or entertainment is to some degree. For me, it's liberation. Um, I work my problems out in my art. Anything that
Mm.
I have on my heart, I work it out in my art, especially on stage.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Bar podcast. I'm your host, Denisa Tova. And today I have a very, very special guest with me, the incredible Truth Hurts. She's a powerhouse in both music, acting. She's known for her chart-topping single Addictive, her roles in the Netflix Security. She's also fierce advocate for mental health, which I love, and a survivor of both depression and a breast cancer. So, Truth, I cannot wait to dive in. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Denisa. Thank you. Good to be
My
here.
pleasure. It's been a long time coming. We
Absolutely.
tried. This is really an honor. And I am just so interested in your story. You have such a rich and varied career. What led you to, where did it all begin? Tell me a little bit about how you got started and navigated this path in the music and film industry.
Well, um, I got started in music officially as a songwriter. And I came into the game back in 92, 93 ish. I wrote some records. Actually, I was in a group first called Suge and Dap, which was short lived. We were signed to Giant Records. We got one single out. And then from there, the whole deal kind of crashed. So I ended up just writing songs for a while for um, quite a few artists that are on the map today. I won't go through the whole list. But pretty much that was my career for a while until I decided to do artistry again. I was kind of dragged back into artistry because I kind of got a little frustrated with the music business at some point and didn't want to do it anymore as an artist. So I thought I would just be behind the scenes until Dr. Dre came and pulled me out of the closet of songwriting.
Literally.
I'm like, yeah, literally, literally. Like, well, we got to try an album on you because every time that you write a song for an artist, it comes across like the song is yours. So let's try something. And so we ended up doing an entire album, doing over 100 songs, and ended up with Addictive. And that was how my debut as an artist really, really began.
Let's go back a little bit more. What were you like as a young girl? I mean, who opened up the your passion for music? Was there something that inspired you?
Yes, absolutely. I was a little girl in St. Louis, a very big dreamer. I was writing songs as a very young kid, and I was singing in my bedroom and writing songs in my bedroom. And my parents were like, okay, this is like an obsession at this point because it was ongoing. So they put me in opera training. So I was
Wow.
classically trained and from 12 years old. And from there, I began doing a lot of theater, showboat, sound of music, a lot of theater, and just always performing. I was 13, singing with a band with a fake ID in clubs with a band called Mystic Voyage, and just music was me. I was a big Prince fan, and so my room was purple. I wanted to be like Prince. I cut my hair like Prince.
Love it.
Yes. Yeah, so everything was encompassed with music, and, my dad saw that, and my dad was a big promoter, a local promoter. He brought a lot of groups to town, Pointer Sisters, Peabo Bryson, Phyllis Hyman. Back then, St. Louis was a big, big jazz spot, and
Mm.
I was always at the concerts with him. So that was where I began my love for stage.
Wow. No, I mean, you sound like you were comfortable on a stage even at that young age.
Yeah, absolutely. I was, and to this day, that's my
Really?
home,
Wow.
stage. Yeah.
What advice would you give to people who are trying to do that? And, they may be successful in what they do, but they're trying to they're suppressing the fear of getting on a stage, whether it's being a public speaker or performing artist, what is it for you? Is that a sort of a ritual that you have, or you just basically feel super comfortable? How do you think about it?
Well, I haven't always felt comfortable on the level of knowing what I want from my career, knowing what I want as a singer, as a songwriter. Some things you kind of just have to walk out. But overall, I would tell people that you do need to find your voice. And that means so much more than just your singing voice. That means find out who you are and what you want to implement into your
Mm.
gift, onto the stage, whatever it is that makes you different, who you are, and don't be fearful of who you are, because in the business, in the music business in particular, you can kind of get washed up in the things that the record companies want you to do, who they want you to be, and what they want you to represent, and you don't necessarily represent that. And then you have to go through this whole wash and do over trying to find out who you are. So I would advise to find out who you are essentially in the beginning.
That's tough. Yeah, being authentic, right? It's like the balance between, you know, selling what's trending, which doesn't necessarily mean you come through authentically because it may not be who you are,
Right.
or you may be risking that you may not have as many followers, be as popular to begin if you put yourself out there. That's but that's much more fulfilling and long lasting journeys what
Absolutely.
you're describing.
And now's a great time for it with social media being the way it is. Recently, a lot of the record companies are dropping artists. A lot of
Mm.
the companies are folding and merging. And what they're doing as a result is they're following people who are taking control of their own careers on social media. And they're going to those
Mm.
people and doing distribution deals with those people because they feel like you're more invested in your art and in your talent. So we can partner, and it doesn't have to be such a rigorous deal or something so compromising of the artist, but we can partner in some way, shape, or form where you put yourself out there authentically, and we back you, and then everybody wins because we don't have to cut such a big check in the beginning. So it's a good time to be authentically you as an artist and find out who you are, which is the part that I love about social media.
That's such a great advice. You're right. There essentially are no borders, no limits. I mean, you can put yourself out there. I've heard somebody describing authenticity as who you are when no one's watching. Do you feel
Yes.
do you
Ah,
feel that's who you are on stage now?
absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't feel like you should necessarily be who you are when no one's watching, because when no one's watching, I'm mostly a mother. And
Yeah.
I the way I run this house, it's probably a reality show, but it's not for my stage show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I believe you're as an artist, when you get on stage, that's when the magic happens. And who I am and how I come alive on stage is totally different than my motherhood and my everyday persona, for sure.
Yeah, let's talk about your motherhood. So you're a mother of 3?
Of three.
Wow. What do you feel that you had to grow through as a parent?
Woo. Relationships, co-parenting. Um, you grow through so much as a parent, as a person being married, then unmarried, then parenting, being an artist in the midst of all of that, being a woman in the midst of all of that, going through my stint with breast cancer. Just
Mm.
everyday life is lifing. And
Life
all of
thing, I
it,
like that.
yeah, all of it encompassed is it's a battle. But I'm a Libra, and I've learned to balance things, I feel. And that's the best part. The best part is balancing it all and knowing when to
Yeah.
be which woman I have to be for that particular thing.
Yeah, and you are all of it. It's not like you choose to be one or the other. You can do it all, maintaining the balance. You've been very open about your battles with depression, breast cancer. Um, how has that experience led you to create a mental health foundation, moment of truth? What impact do you hope to make through this?
Well, I initially started going through my battles with depression and anxiety in 2018 when I was diagnosed with DCIS. I had an entire stint of problems having breast implants
Mm,
since 2002. I think I think I got them in 2002. So at the time that I decided to change the implants from saline to silicone, a host of problems began,
mm,
and they just kept downward spiraling. So it ended up being a case where I was diagnosed with DCIS. And because I had so many complications from the DCIS, I was botched at the time by the person that did the mastectomy. Um, Ongoing problems began, where over 12 to 13 surgeries had to happen. So that's what happened with the depression and anxiety, because every time I would get back up to try to work again, here would come another problem with the breasts and the surgeries. I would have another infection, or something would happen. So there's a whole host of things that surround plastic surgery and the woman in the industry, and the pressure she feels to have to look a certain way, be a
yeah.
certain woman in front of the camera. And so that's why I started Moment of Truth, because Moment of Truth really is that woman, or, person in the industry, in this industry of entertainment, that feels the pressure of having to do all of these things. And especially today, everybody wants plastic surgery, or to change something, or to live by a certain standard where they feel they need to look a certain way, add something, take something away. And Moment of Truth is the voice, not against plastic surgery, and the things that happen to us in the business, but just a voice as an advocate for women who feel they have to be pressured into doing all of these things for themselves just to look a certain way in front of the camera.
Hmm. That's a tough one, right? It comes from
Mhm.
within and your
Absolutely.
perception of yourself.
And the perception you see online, and again,
Yeah.
the pressures from the record companies, or the people who, put money into you. It's always something coming from some direction where you feel like you have to do more. And so the mental health issues begin there. They don't just begin when you have a problem with plastic surgery, or you have a stress in the industry, or feeling like you have to keep up with something you can't keep up with mentally. It starts when you feel the pressure from the beginning to have to be somebody that you don't necessarily want to be, or you wouldn't be at home, but you feel you have to
Yeah.
do it, the camera.
Yeah. No, that's
So,
that's real. I mean, that's fear. That's
oh yeah,
fear. It's also the environment that you grew up in. It's being attached to certain outcome. And like you said, I mean, and then it's basically everywhere around you, social media. So, it's definitely your perception of who you think you should be. And then yeah, it's an evolution to really connect with the authentically with your true self and differentiate between, okay, this is who I am and this is who I think I need to be in order to succeed. And I have to say at the same time, I've had up and coming and also mature artists, recording artists on the show, and there's this one common theme, and that was I am going after not after, but showing up authentically, and that means sitting down with a guitar and, recording that raw and real on a TikTok, and basically building my audience that way. This is who I am,
right.
nothing more, nothing less, and so
Yeah.
I'm hearing it, thankfully, more and more. So that
Hmm.
is that is terrific that you're putting it out there. Wow, what an experience. How did you where did you find strength? What was that defining moment, in terms of like I said, like you said, the depression, that's accumulation of many different things. But how and where do you find strength to push through and to turn things around?
I find my strength in God.
Mm,
Point blank, bottom line, and my children, my family, my support system. Because you
yeah.
can't do without that. Can't do any of this without any of that. That's my sanity, and that's my peace, and that's what gives me courage to keep going and not quit.
Mm. Great, great role model for your kids. How would he describe you?
Strong, funny, crazy, They would be like, "Mom, why are you like this?" If there was one sentence that my children always say, "Mom, why are you like this?" They all say
Ah,
that. I'm
there's a
probably the
lot
silly
packed in
one
there.
of all of us. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
that's so
always
funny. Are you what is like a fun, fun activity you guys like to do as a family?
play games. We play a lot of games, Monopoly, Life, Uno. When we just want to draw in and just be family, we sit down and we actually play games. We turn off all the electronics and we come together, we eat together, and we play games and we laugh.
Mm, it's so important. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, so back to your artistic self. Let's talk about your the Digital Creator Awards. That was what was that like?
It hasn't happened yet. I was
Oh,
invited
that's coming.
as a presenter. It's coming. It's in Qatar. It is. Well, they're talking about pushing it back by a week because of what's going on in Lebanon.
Okay.
But it's still happening. It's Digital Creator Awards for all of the Arab, um, what is it called? Creators, digital
Yeah.
creators. And so they're bringing in some American creators to present. So they know me as an actor and as an online personality. So they're bringing me over to present. It's going to be a lovely event. Get to get dressed
Yeah,
up.
that's
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful.
wow.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, that's incredible to be recognized, in such a global platform. And actually, so this one is the upcoming. The one that actually happened is the I Love R&B Festival performance, right?
Yes, yes. Oh, that was a movie. It was great. It was hot, but it was great. It was boiling. It was 100 degrees in September here in LA, and I don't think anybody was ready for that. Like, people were passing out in the audience.
Oh,
Yeah, it was hot. It
wow.
was really hot. And it's never like that in September, of course, here.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, that's
Oh, yeah.
unusual.
It's
What other than the heat, on a positive note, what stood out? Because that was really like a celebration of the 90s R&B nostalgia, right? What stood
so
out for you?
the fact that so many people showed up because they miss the cadence of R&B. Um, R&B definitely isn't what it used to be, and I'll never say R&B is dead. It's still around, but it's not what it used to be. And I feel like R&B in the '90s and the early 2000s, um, people held on to it a certain way, in a different way than they do now. And so those shows always sell out because some people just want to get back to when R&B was R&B, when it was just from the soul. And those concerts and festivals always represent that. It's always those songs of those times that you could relate to, or something was going on in your life and it was a particular song, like Addictive. Everybody knows what they were doing when they stopped to belly dance to Addictive back then. So people want to hear those songs again, and they want to see what happened with those people, and they want to kind of feel that whole essence of R&B again. So it was wonderful on that note.
Yeah, that's, obviously, I've lived through it.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's definitely changing, that's for sure. Yeah, that's,
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's, going down the memory lane, without dating myself, but, switching gears to acting, so let's talk about your role in the movie Security, Netflix. What was that like for you? You worked, right along, the stars like Nick Cage, Antonio Banderas, right, in that movie?
In that particular movie, it was Antonio Banderas.
Oh, it was
Yes.
Antonio
It's
Banderas.
really
Okay, that's right.
was Cage. But, man, I had to pinch myself working next to
Yeah.
Antonio Banderas. I was literally a sponge. Um, he pulled me to the side before we did the scene, and he said, I like to do this with my acting counterparts before we do a scene, so, it comes off as raw and as personal as possible." So we just sat and talked for a bit, and I just soaked up everything that he said because he is an OG at this acting thing, and I respect him on otherworldly levels. So I sat down and I really opened myself up to hear everything that he had to say, and I aced the part because of that. Totally. Just humbled myself and just received
Mm.
everything from him. And it was definitely a moment, that scene that we did. So, man, I think acting is my favorite thing to do right now, versus, singing and being in the studio and being on stage. And it's great to be able to have both talents because when one wears you out, you can go and find liberation in the other.
Yeah.
Because that's what performing is, or entertainment is to some degree. It's for me, it's liberation. Um, I work my problems out in my art. Anything that
Mm.
I have on my heart, I work it out in my art, especially on stage. So when one thing is frustrating me, I love to just go find solace in the other. So right now, I'm on my acting page. I've been studying a lot and waiting to acquire bigger roles. Some things have come down the pipeline that I'm starting on. That's part of what the Qatar trip is about. It's a meeting also with Miramax because they own the Digital Creator Awards. So a big director that I work with in France, he's from France. He's meeting me there, and we're talking about some upcoming projects as well.
What would be your dream role?
A lead role in a big film. Um, you know who I love and respect, and the way that they did art was Diana Ross. The way that she
Um,
did those films, and they fit so perfectly, perfectly crafted into her music career.
mm.
Mahogany, all of those things. Like she would do the soundtrack for Mahogany, and then those would be the records she sells. And she was the lead of the movie. To me, that is a perfect triple threat role in entertainment. And so I'm waiting to do something like that, like on that scale, on that level, where it's a film and it's based around me. And same thing with my girl that played Tina Turner. She's one of my favorite actors as well.
Oh, not
Angela
Anita.
Bassett.
Yes,
Angela.
Angela Bassett. Yep, yep.
Same thing with her, how she played Tina Turner and, and Tina Turner's a great example, how she did Mad
Yeah.
Max and the Thunderdome, and she did the entire, soundtrack, and it fit so effortlessly into her career and who she was as, an entity in the music business. So, things like that. That's what I'm seeking to do next, just on otherworldly levels.
And I can see that. It feels aligned with who you are and the fire that you carry, and the resilience that you have, having overcome so much and just kind of powerfully putting it out there through your role.
Yes. Absolutely, thank you for saying that.
Yeah. No, it's apparent. We've never met in person, but I can sense that, the energy and those actually are some, top favorite, well, you mentioned Prince first, and I perked up
Yeah.
immediately because that's one regret I have. I've never seen his concert, but as a young girl, loved, the movie, and Purple Rain, and just probably had my entire room was plastered with his posters and, um,
Same.
yeah,
I
that's,
went to his concert when I was young. That
really?
was my that was my first concert. My parents
Wow.
looked at it, they were like, "I don't know if we should be doing this," but I went. Yeah, he was a bit wild on stage, but, man, just the performance, just the level of entertainment, that's what put the nail in it for me that I had to be a performer because when you witness something like that, the way that man, whew, what he did on the stage, he set fire to the stage every
Oh,
single
yeah. Yeah. You know what, it felt like he was ahead of its time. There was something you
Yeah,
at least for me, it's so liberating. It's like, I don't give a F about anybody or anything. I'm in my space. This is
yeah,
how I want to express, and he expressed everything. I mean, with every fiber of his body. I mean, you could
yeah,
sense the music, and and it was yeah, it was incredible. It was so much more to him than, than maybe what you saw on the surface, I felt like. Yeah, he
Right,
was
right.
yeah.
He was a phenomenon. I mean, so he's another example with what he did with Purple Rain and his movies and how he brought the stage to life and who he
Yeah.
was as an entertainer to life in his films. You know, to me, that's the life of true entertainment when you can do that. When you can bring all of those worlds to life in one. It's amazing.
Yeah. True art. Yeah, you're
Mhm.
right. It's like it just becomes like your life stage. That
Really
is
though.
so true. What about like a I don't know if I necessarily believe in life balance. To me, if you love what you do, it just sort of fits in. But what do you have you talked about what you do with as a family. If you had a day, time for yourself,
Mhm.
how would you spend it where you're not, let's say you're not, you're not working on your music or movie, what would you do for yourself?
I would fly away somewhere on an island and sit by myself and pray and meditate for 3 days next to the ocean. That's what I would
3
do.
days. I wish I could
3
do it for 3
days.
minutes.
3 days. That's all it takes. 3 days, in and out. I would do that just for
Yeah,
me, yeah.
just get into a zone.
Mhm,
What, on a final note, what advice you talked about, being authentic, and,
mm,
I'm just curious, if going back to your younger self and
mm.
something that you had to learn and wish you knew, what advice, would you give to younger Truth?
I talk to younger truth all the time, and, I tell her, "We're still in this together and we're okay. And I know
Mm.
I've let you down sometimes, but we are on the road to redemption and we're still all right, girl. We're still in the business of living out loud and being free and turning our disappointments to our successes. So I got you, little Sherry. I got you." And that's what
Yeah,
my new album is, Revelations is. It's looking in the mirror and telling your younger self that all the things that you've learned, the revelations, the things that you're like, wow, this is an aha moment. Um, Things I should have learned about relationships sooner. Um, all the things that a lot of people turn into regrets. I just say they're revelations, and I wrote about that on the new album. My disappointments in relationships, marriage, going through divorce, um, breast cancer, depression, anxiety, all of those things that happen along the way when life is lifing, um, and make sure that they don't become regrets and that they're just revelations. Wake me up.
that is powerful. There's so much packed in that album. Ha
Yeah,
what w
that's why it's taking forever to get it out. It's like having a baby, like labor pains.
Damn, okay. That painful. No, seriously, what was that process like for you to get
Ongoing. I
that?
mean, it's been 2.5 years, and I feel like the finishing touches are just now happening. Right now, it's 14 songs. It started off as an EP, Revelations, the Sheepy, and it kind of like snowballed into an album because there's so many incredible songs. I'm actually coming out of R&B and moving more into just soul music with this, and
Mm,
I'm changing so much, and I'm evolving and growing so much that I can't just do R&B anymore. So the sounds are kind of evolved into more soul than it is R&B like it used to be. Like it used to be more R&B hip hop. Now it's more just soul. That's what I would call what I'm doing now. So it's coming together. The
oh,
process is passionate. That's the word I would use to describe the entire process of creating Revelations. Passionate. Passionate.
that
It's
is a
coming.
passion project. You're putting your
Yeah,
life, essentially, your experiences, and, that's an interesting it's an interesting information, good piece of information that you put out there. It's you're not stuck. As an
right.
artist, you don't have to be pigeonholed. It's not static, it's dynamic, it's ever evolving. And
Yes.
as you get to know the younger part, perhaps, and other parts that we sometimes exiled, right? Push away. And we
Mhm.
don't want to do that. It's embracing all of them.
It is. It is. So effortlessly. And, just kinda making up for the times that I didn't know who I was and I was struggling in the business and trying to be who Dre wanted me to be or who Interscope wanted me to be, and not totally authentically being myself, trying to sell a record per se. So this is me redeeming that time and reclaiming that time.
Hmm. That
Ooh.
is powerful. Wow. That takes a lot of courage to do that.
It does. It does.
Wow.
Because everybody wants you to be who you used to be.
Right?
Like, "Oh, it's
Yes,
addictive.
and it's
I wanna
but
hear
that's their
addictive again."
issue.
Yeah, that's the issue. That's the issue because I'm not the addictive girl anymore. I still perform addictive and I still perform it on like whole other levels of performance. It's like my performance piece, but I am a different woman than I was when I first put addictive out. So, um, I would be cheating myself to just give you records that are like addictive.
Yeah, and you could have. You could have been stuck on this path and it would have been fine, but then again, you would not honor yourself, and you're
Right.
saying, "It's my
And
time."
creativity. You're not honoring
Yeah.
creativity and art by staying stuck in a zone that you no longer belong in. We're ever evolving, especially as artists. So, can't do that.
Wow. This has been so powerful, and I say that, and I'd love to, I'm gonna continue to watch your journey and follow up and have you back for sure, and thank you so much for, joining us today and sharing your story. It's been truly inspiration.
Oh, thank you too, Denisa. I'm following your whole experience as well, and I am so enlightened by everything that you do online as well. So I want you to know I'm following your journey with the show, with Beyond the Bar as well. And thank you for having me.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
thank you, thank you. Means a lot to me. And for all listeners out there and viewers, make sure that you check out Truth's album, Revelations, that you follow her on social media. Of course, we're posting all the links in our show notes below. And thank you for tuning into Beyond the Bar podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on all social media links. And until next time, stay curious and stay inspired.